Chapter 15. Last Chance. Security measures had been heightened. Every corner of the palace was under control. Everyone was on alert. The guests had retired to their rooms, ensuring the safety outside was secured. Everyone was waiting for the next development. Everyone except the envoy. She had left the hall together with Carl. The incident in the hall was still on everyone's lips. Meanwhile, Lady Alia, in her pink robe, had withdrawn to her room, her mind burning in another fire. As Carl and that girl, the envoy Leora, climbed the stone stairs of the palace together, Alia was watching them from afar. Carl's gaze. That gaze. There was an unusual softness on his face, a familiar yet long-forgotten brightness in his eyes.
Who was that girl? What could make them look into each other's eyes with such interest? For years, Carl never looked at me like that. Couldn't look. But he looks at her.
Her heart hardened. A strange ache rose within her. She could not fully understand whether it was jealousy or anger.
Is she more beautiful than me?
She asked as she reached for the mirror. While staring into her own eyes, she could barely recognize herself. At that moment, she began to rummage nervously through her old belongings, and her hands touched that thing, a small keepsake Carl had given her years ago, and it felt as if time itself had turned back. She had been Carl's closest friend, the boy who came beneath her window at night, who listened silently, who always understood. What wonderful times they had shared. He was not just a friend. He was the hero who filled the void her father had left, the young man she loved. And Lamar, the old lover she rarely met, with whom even conversation was difficult. That relationship had already ended when she learned Lamar had been amusing himself with another woman.
Perhaps it was for the best that it ended,
she whispered to herself.
After Carl, I realized I never truly loved Lamar. The only man I missed was Carl.
She did not know exactly when or how she had lost the man who had taken up the most space in her heart.
I was always disciplined, always well-behaved. My grades were perfect, but I never learned how to feel,
she said sadly.
I became first, reached my goal, but I never found anyone like Carl again.
Carl had never really left her mind. The thought of him being with someone else burned inside her. She was crushed under the weight of a past slipping through her hands.
But why did Carl suddenly leave me?
She asked herself. How many years had that question circled in her mind? An unanswered letter, a half-finished song. Whenever she searched for an answer, she always returned to the same moment, the day they separated. But that day was no longer enough.
Maybe I'm remembering the wrong day,
she thought.
Not the day we broke up. Maybe something happened in the days before. A turning point I missed.
She slowly sat on the edge of her bed. Her eyes were fixed on the void. She began to turn back the days in her memory, one by one.
In the last days, he was more distracted. He left sentences unfinished. His gaze would drift into the distance. But I never asked why. I was so caught up in myself that I didn't notice.
Then another thought struck her mind.
What if it wasn't about me at all? What if Carl had fallen in love with another girl? Maybe there was someone else in his life. Is that why he pulled away from me?
The thought crushed her with jealousy.
No,
she said through clenched teeth.
I cannot accept that.
She wondered if Carl had been influenced by her father. After Carl distanced himself, Cassian had threatened her to stay away from his son.
He loved me, but never said it. I waited for him to look into my eyes and say, "I love you," to confess. But Call always chose to build walls, and I was never brave enough to tear them down. After he built those walls, I always felt incomplete before him. I even questioned whether he and my father had agreed on this together. But the answer couldn't be there. Call had told her that he and his father were distant, that he barely cared about him.
And then a detail struck her mind. There had to be another reason. She remembered the day before they broke up, the day she met Lamar.
I had held his hand in the winter garden, maybe for 5 minutes, maybe less. But he was there. Call was there.
Her heart tightened.
He might have seen us? No.
But her eyes grew misty. That moment was clearer now.
We didn't make eye contact, but I felt a shadow there. I didn't turn around. I never turned around.
She covered her face with her hands. The answer she had been chasing all her life had been before her all along. But she had never looked.
What did I do to Call?
She murmured softly, her voice barely audible.
I broke his heart.
She had never been able to make sense of Call's coldness, his distance, his seeming transformation into someone else after that day. But now she was facing the reckoning of the past she had feared. She had been afraid of Call's walls. And now, all at once, everything collapsed upon her.
I didn't make a fool of him. I wasn't even aware. But in his eyes, I became a liar who held another man's hands.
The loneliness that had gnawed at her for years until that moment gave way to a heavier feeling. But when I see Call's closeness with Leoara, I see that those walls have already been crossed by someone else. And now I am no longer afraid of anyone, not even myself. And only one sentence remained on her lips.
Call? Would he give me one more chance?
Chapter 16. In the Heart of Stones, Tech. Tech was crouched, leaning over the tools he had arranged on the flat stones before him. In front of him lay fine golden wires, copper strips, carved bone plates, smoothed crystal fragments, and the vibration listener he had made with his own hands, 2 interlocking metal rings, and a polished mirror that reflected resonance.
"This is not an ordinary stone,"
he said without raising his head.
"These are mind devices that carry distant sounds. The outer layer is quartz-like, but the inside is hollow. Every vein is engraved. Thin channels run through it, carrying light and sound. Whoever made these must have lived long before our age, possessing far greater knowledge. In the entire empire, no one but me could have deciphered this."
Val Maraxas frowned.
How did the kings fail to notice that?
"Because our ancestors were used to calling everything they couldn't understand sacred,"
Tech said.
"Who would dare open a gift said to have come from the gods 500 years ago? Yet if they had thought to look inside, perhaps by now we would know how to make such things ourselves."
"How can you be sure it was 500 years ago?"
asked Ailey, raising her brows. She still found it hard to believe what she was hearing. Tech lifted his head and smiled faintly.
"Before Cole handed the stones to me, he said this: 'These stones carry a secret 500 years old, and if there is anyone who can solve it, it's you.' Then he tossed the puzzle before me."
Tech touched the inner veins of the stone with a polished bone pin. From within the crystal a shimmer rose. A trembling light swept through the tent.
"Look, the light inside is vibrating. This stone converts the sound it receives into inner vibration. Then, by resonating another stone, it echoes the same sound. When one speaks, the other hears.
As Tech's fingers traced the veins of the stone, a spark of an old memory flickered in his eyes. He smiled softly.
Do you remember?
He said.
At the academy, I had tied 2 parchment cones to the ends of a string. We stretched the string across the room and whispered through it to transmit our voices.
Zorak chuckled.
Oh, yes. The teachers had burst into the room asking what we were doing. They thought we were performing magic.
Tech continued with a smile.
Back then, it was just for fun. But I learned something. Sound always finds a way. The veins inside this stone are like that string. They only need to be guided. Now, we're applying the same idea to a much larger mechanism.
Mira squinted at the light. Tech might as well have been speaking in a foreign language. His engineering mind was of an entirely different kind.
This thing was really carrying our words to the Republic?
Tech nodded slightly.
Yes, Carl had already suspected it. When I examined the stone's veins, I became certain.
Zorak grumbled softly.
All right, then. But are they still listening now?
Tech reshaped some of the inner carvings on the stone's surface using a flint.
Not anymore. I've narrowed their channels. Now only 2 stones that are harmonized with each other can hear one another. The rest will remain silent. It now works only for us.
Val leaned forward.
So, the system is in our hands now?
Not yet. But now, even if they wanted to, they can't listen to us. And if I can find a few more stone fragments, we can use this system like our own network. Imagine, Val. No matter where we are, we'll be able to hear each other instantly.
So, this sacred curse has now become our weapon, huh? Said Zorak with a pleased grin. Tech fixed his gaze on the light of the stone and murmured,
Our techniques are old, but in the right hands, they're still powerful.
As his eyes followed the veins of the stone, he slowly turned his head.
I realized something.
He said in a calm, subdued voice.
If the Republic made these stones 500 years ago, can you imagine what they might have in their hands now?
The air inside the tent suddenly grew tense. Even the flame of the lamp seemed to burn more quietly. Val Maraxas narrowed his eyes.
What are you trying to say?
Tech's voice dropped to a whisper.
According to the information we have, the Republic is just a small, insignificant city-state. Or at least, that's what we've always believed. But this device, it's far beyond anything we know. Maybe under the guise of peace, they're running something much deeper. Maybe we're just pieces on their game board.
Illy shivered.
Now I'm actually scared.
She said, pressing her lips together. Zorak reached for his dagger.
So, we don't even know who we're really fighting, do we?
Then Ely asked,
But something else bothers me, Call. How did he even know these stones were in the hands of the kings?
Silence fell. The lamp's flame reflected faintly in Tech's eyes. Val shrugged.
Maybe he heard it from his father.
Mira shook her head.
I don't think so. Their relationship was cold. Besides, how could a prince know the secrets of the Council of Kings?
Zorak leaned back.
Maybe he saw it when he was a child.
Mira asked,
Could a child that age understand what kind of transmission was inside this stone? Even Tech can barely explain what he's doing.
Illy laughed mockingly.
Maybe he knows more than he lets on. Maybe he isn't telling us everything.
Zorak shrugged.
It's not like he'd be playing games with us, right?
But silence once again fell over the tent. The stone shimmered with a faint, trembling light. Tech continued his work in silence. Among them, only he had now uncovered one of the Republic's secrets, and that secret might become the first step toward changing the future of the Empire. Chapter 17. The Temple Within the Mist. A week later, Carl had summoned the crew to the new headquarters through a secret passage behind a dead-end street outside the city center. The place appeared to be an abandoned craftsman's workshop, but below it were hidden passages, connected tunnels, and sheltered rooms.
From now on, we'll use this for the crew's operations,
Carl said, spreading a map in the middle of the tent.
There are multiple entry points. Tech and I set the trap systems together. The XI organization is on alert after recent events. We can't attract attention.
Then he turned his head to Tech.
Were you able to complete your preliminary research? What did you find about the Eula cult?
Tech unfolded the parchment, reading the small notes written along its edges with a serious expression.
I made use of a few acquaintances in XY and some old connections. It wasn't easy to get this information, but here it is.
Tech pointed to the parchment Northern Kingdom. In the temple within the Eltha Mountains lies a sword sealed in ice. Central Kingdom, beneath the river waters of the Sacred Circle, a hidden sword rests in an underground cavern. Western Kingdoms, near the mud sea of Dupe, within a tomb guarded by masked priests, another sword is kept. Southern Kingdom, in a cave within the Ferris Mountains, a sword concealed from the common people. Desert ruins, former Eula Kingdom, believed to be the sacred temple where the true sword of Bloodlight is hidden.
I think the real sword is in the desert,
he said.
The least guarded but hardest place to reach. And they believe this is the sword that feeds on blood. They think it can stop the curse, but at a heavy price. The Eula cult is not just old monks as we thought. Under every temple, there are vaults, underground passages, hidden cities. They have dug the earth like beavers. We cannot understand the scale of this structure without seeing them. Either someone looked the other way, or as a state we were excessively blind.
Then the first mission will be infiltration. We'll send our agents in disguised as people who appear devout and want to join the temple, especially those who renounced the Trisolaris faith and turned to Eula. We need to learn their ceremonies, initiations, military structure, and population.
We can't jump into the unknown blindly.
We must blend into such a group,
he said. Then, turning to his friends, Carl asked jokingly who would volunteer for the reconnaissance mission and who would be the first to change their faith.
You'll have to persuade me to change my belief.
Okay. Peaceful silence away from Mira's nagging. Women who haven't witnessed your womanizing unknown foods. Is that enough for you?
Zorak winked.
The last one was very tempting.
Ailey jumped in.
I'll leave the religion. I never joined anyway. Besides, I'm a minion girl. They won't see me as a threat. I'll cut my hair like a boy. I have sedatives and narcotic powders. Put me among those cult lunatics. I'll fit right in.
We can't send Ailey alone. I'll go with her.
Your look isn't very convincing. You don't have a peasant vibe,
he said.
I'll be the woodcutter, and Ely can be my disabled sister. That way we'll test their mercy. We'll see whether new recruits accept us or not.
Zorak laughed.
No need to act a lie. See, being yourself is enough.
Mira sulked.
Not funny, Zorak.
Then how about Araz, the woodcutter's lice-ridden sister? One gets her hair cut, the other we say is deaf.
Mira shot another angry look.
Okay, don't be mad, queen of grumpiness. It was just a bad joke. I admit I exaggerated a bit.
Slow down, kids. The mission is not a joke.
He held his head.
What do you think, Carl? We don't have much time. Even though I said we shouldn't dive into an uncertain well, I think we have to dive in somehow. Let me lay out the plan details.
A dozen cunning plans raced through Call's mind, but he suddenly stopped. Something else had caught his attention. Val did not look well.
How long will you hide your illness from us? We're family, Val. You can't hide this from us more than you already have.
Val smiled, but his eyes were blank.
I'm fine. Just...
He couldn't finish the sentence before a coughing fit struck him. With a tired look, Val said,
I think I caught the Melanetti from the Mud Sea while on the West Coast assignment.
Mira sprang to his side.
You're telling us this now? We need to break that woodcutter head of yours. Stay still. Let me look into your eyes. Should I prepare something warm? Shall I make an ointment?
She said without stopping. Val continued with difficulty.
The more dirty air you breathe, the more permanent it becomes. It's not lethal right now, but as far as I know, there's no cure for this plague.
Then he hesitated. Memories of his conversations with the innkeeper came to mind. Maybe there could be a cure, he said, and he told his friends what had happened.
You promised the man. You took the ring. You must keep it.
She said,
I didn't promise anything. I said I'd look into it. You can't trust that man. He handed me a worthless ring and called it a keepsake.
Anyway, this rumor might be true. We should investigate. Let's go now.
She said, her eyes filling as she looked at his face.
To hell with Eula! Nothing is more valuable than you, Val.
She said. Call nodded. Mira was right.
Mira, take Val. If necessary, find a cure somehow. The whole team doesn't need to go to find a healer. The rest of the team stays with us. If you fail, when we return, we'll use all our means to find a remedy.
Mira stood up quickly.
I'm ready. Come on, Val, we mustn't waste time.
Carl returned to the map and pointed with his hand.
Our first target is the Sacred Circle in the Central Kingdom. If we have time, we'll look at the others. For now, we have a week. No one from 11 will ask where you are. All necessary permissions and excuses are prepared. Eli and Brax will infiltrate appearing as ordinary peasants who wish to join the temple, and we will have communication among us at every solar phase. If possible, map the interior in a few days and get back to us. If there is no transfer from the stones, or we cannot get a response from you, Zorak and I will enter and deal death to the cult members. While we go inside, Tech will stay outside, using Eli's chemical materials to make a ruckus and distract, easing our exit.
Tech smiled faintly.
I prepared a few new fun traps.
Survival in danger is your first priority. Nothing is more valuable than you.
He said, his final sentence firm and clear.
Then prepare everything necessary. Tomorrow night, at the full moon, we meet at the ruins. Today I have a heavier diplomatic burden. I must deal with an emerald-eyed diplomatic issue, he said.